He's only in office for about a day. Newly sworn Republican Senator Scott Brown says he has the answers on how to create jobs. Across-the-board tax cuts. Carl Jeffers, a Democrat, says that he's right on this one. Carl, I almost fell out my chair when I heard you agreed. Now, are you agreeing because you think, you know what, let them have one, let's appease the GOP, and then prove them wrong?
Well, it goes a little further than that, Charles, and it's good to see you again. And I'd love to one day engage Ben Stein and anybody else that wants to assert that FDR's New Deal just didn't work. We'll look forward to that conversation.
Yeah, we'll have a drink one day and talk about it.
Okay, I'll look forward to that, Charles. You know something? I'm actually of the opinion that we could actually look at tax cuts across the board as a way to try to help additionally stimulate the economy. First of all, let's remember, one of the reasons why the stimulus plan has not appeared to work to the average American is because so much of it had to go to the states to cover education and balance budgets and requirements to keep the states solvent. And that's why we haven't seen it. But now that we know it has not worked, despite what many Democrats are charging, I'm frankly concerned it hasn't worked. If the tax cuts are across the board, then, and that means across the board, including the wealthy, everybody would have to get something. But we have to keep the board balanced, and I don't want 40% of the net yield benefits going to the top 2% of earners either. Let's make sure that it's balanced and everyone gets something. I think that could help create some jobs, and I think the president's on the right track with the things he announced today. But here's what we need, Charles. The $5,000 tax credit for new employment, that's not going to work. Why? If you're an employer, Charles, you're not going to hire somebody at $40,000 a year for a $5,000 tax credit if you don't have any sales.
Right.
And if people are still unemployed, they're not going to make sales for you. But if we could get lending out there, get new businesses developing, get lending and loans for homes and for not just existing businesses, but people to start a business, franchises. We've got the Franchise Association in San Antonio this weekend.
Carl,
that's what we need to do.
You're a well-known Democrat. You have a lot of connections. And, you know, of course, it's hard to argue with the things you said. Although someone could quibble about the 1 or 2% that pay 50% of the taxes getting 40% back, that would seem fair and balanced. Nevertheless, I don't want to make it about that. It seems to me, though, that the White House...
I'm glad you don't.
The White House really... It's not necessarily an economic policy, but an ideological policy with respect to the top 5%. And they see taxes perhaps as a punitive measure. And that's where a lot of people are concerned. Are they punishing the successful people in America simply because they're successful?
Well, I think that it goes back, though, to what the Bush administration did. What the Bush administration did, Charles, was to give the wealthiest people in America an additional bonus when the middle class really needed the help. I have no problem with the tax structure, the way it existed at the time the Bush administration initiated those cuts, because the wealthy were doing very well. I was saying let them continue to do well and let them keep what they have now, but we don't need to give them an additional tax cut when we have the middle class struggling. That's the difference between me and many other liberals. Now, as a result of that, we have to get the balance back in it. And I do think that at the top, some tax cut would provide more incentive for the wealthy to invest, and be it capital gains and other means to help to create new businesses that will create jobs. But we've got to get lending out to new businesses, to people who want to set up a business, buy a franchise, and hire 5 or 10 people. That's where we need help all over the country.
Carl, before I let you go, will it take a GOP landslide in November to get some of the ideas that you're talking about right now to resonate in the White House?
You know, I was actually on another interview earlier this morning, and my concern was that right now the Republicans look very good in November. I don't agree with the Dick Morrises of the world who think they're in play to actually take back control of the Senate and the House, but they will have such a major victory, I think, that it will essentially create an impasse. But the problem will be, Charles, in trying to now use that to reach agreement the day after the November elections. And if Republicans come out with a strong victory, both parties will then be focused entirely on the next election for 2012. And the Republicans won't want to give Obama any benefits, and the Democrats will want to try to make the Republicans look bad. And in the end, who loses? All the American people, because of that kind of gridlock. Well,
let's hope not, Carl. Carl Jeffers, really appreciate it, buddy. Thanks a lot.
Good to see you again, Charles.